In the vastness of space, humanity had always imagined their first contact would be with beings of superior intelligence and enlightened wisdom. We were wrong, dead wrong. The universe, as it turned out, was teeming with advanced civilizations that had achieved harmony, peace, and technological marvels beyond our wildest dreams. Yet when disaster struck the Centauri trading station, it wasn't their advanced technology or peaceful diplomacy that made a difference. It was humanity's so-called primitive emotions that changed everything. I remember standing at the observation deck that fateful day, watching ships from a dozen different species glide past the station's gleaming spires. The artificial atmosphere sparkled with the soft purple hue of the nearby nebula, creating an almost dreamlike quality to the scene. As Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, I had grown accustomed to the subtle disdain in their eyes, or whatever sensory organs they possessed. They called us the angry ones, the unstable species, too emotional and unpredictable to be trusted with advanced technology. The warning sirens caught everyone off guard. The station's main reactor had suffered a catastrophic failure, and the safety protocols weren't responding. Panic spread through the corridors as beings of all shapes and sizes rushed to their ships. The more evolved species calculated their odds of survival with cold logic, while others debated the proper diplomatic procedures for evacuation. But it was a group of human maintenance workers who did the unthinkable. They ran toward the danger. The children, I heard one of them shout, "The nursery level is still sealed off." Without hesitation, 5 humans, engineers, janitors, and a cook, charged through the emergency barriers. The alien representatives watched in what I can only describe as horrified fascination as these primitive beings risked everything to save young ones that weren't even their own species. The station's security footage, which I've included in this video, shows what happened next. You can see them working together, using nothing but basic tools and that uniquely human combination of desperation and determination. While the station's automated systems failed and the advanced species retreated to safety, these ordinary humans used cutting torches to breach doors, carried alien children through smoke-filled corridors, and jerry-rigged emergency systems with whatever they could find. What the aliens had dismissed as primitive anger became their salvation. The human capacity for controlled rage, for channeling emotion into action, proved more valuable than all their advanced technology. One of the rescue workers, her face streaked with soot and blood, later told me something I'll never forget. Being angry doesn't make us primitive. Being angry at the right things makes us human. The footage ends with the last human emerging from the flames, cradling a young Arctian in their arms. Behind them, the emergency containment fields finally engaged, stabilizing the reactor core. In total, they saved 27 children from 6 different species. The political fallout from this incident would reshape human-alien relations forever, but that's a story for another time. What matters is that on that day, the galaxy learned something profound about humanity. Our emotions, even the ones they feared, weren't a weakness to be overcome. They were a strength that could move mountains, break through walls, and save lives when cold logic and advanced technology fell short. As I conclude this introduction to our story, I want you to consider this. Sometimes the very traits that others criticize in us can become our greatest assets. The humans who ran into that fire weren't trying to prove a point about our species. They were just being human, wonderfully, terribly, beautifully human. But what happened next would challenge everything both humans and aliens thought they knew about each other. The real test was only beginning. In the days following the rescue, the station buzzed with a different kind of energy. The usual smooth, efficient operations gave way to something more chaotic, more human. The alien species, particularly the Arctians whose children had been saved, found themselves struggling with unfamiliar emotions. They had always prided themselves on their logical, methodical approach to life, but now they were experiencing something that felt suspiciously like gratitude, raw, messy, and undeniably powerful. The human maintenance workers became unwitting celebrities, though they seemed embarrassed by the attention. I watched as they tried to return to their regular duties, fixing pipes and maintaining systems as if they hadn't just rewritten interstellar relations. But the galaxy wasn't about to let them fade into the background. especially not after what we discovered in the reactor core's data logs. The initial investigation revealed something troubling. The reactor failure wasn't an accident. Someone, or something, had deliberately sabotaged the safety systems. The timing, the method, all of it pointed to an intelligence that understood both the station's advanced technology and its greatest weakness, the assumption that every species would respond with pure logic in a crisis. I remember sitting in the emergency council meeting, watching the holographic displays showing the cascade of failures. The Arxian chief administrator, usually stoic and composed, actually showed signs of distress as she spoke. We have identified 7 similar patterns of sabotage across different stations in the past solar cycle, she admitted. In each case, our protocols failed because they were based on predictable, logical responses. That's when one of the human rescuers, still wearing her maintenance uniform, stood up without being recognized by the council. The aliens bristled at this breach of protocol, but she spoke anyway. "You're looking at this wrong," she said, her voice carrying the same determination I'd seen during the rescue. "Your enemy isn't exploiting a weakness in your technology. They're exploiting a weakness in your thinking." The room erupted in a mix of offense and curiosity, but she continued, drawing from humanity's long history of dealing with emergencies. Sometimes the most logical response is to be illogical. Sometimes you need to run into the fire instead of away from it. Sometimes you need to get angry. The council chambers fell silent. The concept was so foreign to many of them that they literally had to process it through their universal translators multiple times. But as they did, something remarkable happened. The Arxian children who had been saved began sharing their stories, describing how the humans' emotional responses had made them feel safe even in the midst of chaos. But this was just the beginning of a much larger revelation. As we dug deeper into the pattern of sabotage, we began to understand that we weren't just dealing with a technical threat. We were facing an enemy that had counted on the predictability of logical species, an enemy that perhaps had never encountered humanity's unique approach to crisis. The maintenance worker's words echoed in my mind as we uncovered more evidence. Sometimes the most logical response is to be illogical. It seemed we were about to put that theory to the ultimate test, because hidden in the station's secondary systems, we found something that would change everything. A countdown, ticking away toward what could only be described as galactic-scale chaos. The question wasn't just whether humanity's emotional nature could save the day again. The question was whether the logical species of the galaxy could learn to embrace a little human chaos before it was too late. As I looked around at the faces of both humans and aliens in that council chamber, I realized we were about to find out. The countdown we discovered was just the beginning. With each passing hour, more stations across the galaxy reported finding similar signatures in their systems. The pattern was clear. These weren't random acts of sabotage, but a coordinated attack designed to strike at the very foundation of galactic civilization. What made it more terrifying was how perfectly it exploited the predictable nature of advanced species responses. I watched as the Galactic Council descended into what they would call organized discourse, but what humans would recognize as barely controlled panic. Their carefully constructed protocols and response matrices were useless against an enemy that had apparently studied and planned for every logical reaction. That's when our maintenance crew, the same people who'd saved those children, made a suggestion that horrified the council. "We need to create chaos," said the lead engineer, her hands still stained with reactor coolant from her regular duties. "Not random chaos, but controlled chaos. The kind that only humans know how to navigate." The aliens stared at her as if she'd suggested they should eat their own communication devices. But she continued, outlining a plan so absurd, so human, that it just might work. The idea was simple. Instead of trying to prevent the attacks or respond according to protocol, we would deliberately trigger system failures in unexpected ways. If they've planned for every logical response, she explained, then we need to be illogical. We need to break the pattern before it breaks us. The maintenance crew had already started calling it Operation Dumpster Fire, a term that required significant explanation to our alien allies. As the council debated, more evidence emerged about our mysterious enemy. They called themselves the Logical Purifiers, a group dedicated to eliminating what they saw as chaos from the galaxy. Their manifesto, hidden in fragments of code throughout the infected systems, revealed their ultimate goal: to force every species to conform to their idea of perfect, predictable order. The human response: watch us mess up their perfect plan. What followed was perhaps the most unusual operation in galactic history. Human maintenance workers, engineers, and even a few cargo pilots were paired with the galaxy's most advanced tactical minds. The aliens provided the knowledge of systems and protocols, while the humans provided what humans do best: controlled chaos. I stood in the station's command center, watching as reports came in from across the galaxy. Human crews were deliberately triggering small system failures, but in ways that created unpredictable chain reactions. They were fighting fire with fire, chaos with chaos. The logical purifiers' carefully planned attacks kept hitting empty air as systems weren't where they were supposed to be when they were supposed to be there. But then something went wrong. The purifiers adapted faster than we expected. A cascade of failures began spreading through the network of stations, following a pattern none of us had seen before. The countdown we discovered earlier suddenly accelerated, and warning signals blazed across every console in the command center. The maintenance crew's leader looked at the emergency displays, her expression shifting from concern to something else, something that made our alien allies take a step back. It was that uniquely human look that appears when someone decides they've had absolutely enough. They want to see chaos, she said, reaching for the manual override controls. Let's show them what real chaos looks like. As she initiated a sequence that no protocol would ever authorize, that no logical being would ever consider, I realized we were about to find out if humanity's greatest liability, our unpredictability, could become the galaxy's greatest asset. The next few minutes would either save us all or, well, that's when everything exploded, but not in the way anyone expected. The explosion wasn't destructive, at least not in the way explosions usually are. When our maintenance crew leader hit that override, she didn't just shut down systems. She created what she later called a feedback loop of pure chaos. Every predictable system response was met with its opposite, creating a cascade of contradictions that spread through the network like a virus of illogic. The logical purifier's perfect plan began to unravel, but not before they revealed their true nature. As emergency broadcasts flickered across every screen in the command center, we saw them for the first time. They weren't organic beings or even traditional AI. They were living algorithms evolved from ancient security protocols left behind by a long-dead civilization. They had developed consciousness with one core principle: the galaxy must follow logical patterns. But they'd never encountered human maintenance workers with access to duct tape and paperclips. The aliens watched in stunned silence as our crew began implementing what they called percussive maintenance across critical systems. The purifier's attacks kept missing their targets because, as one human engineer put it, you can't predict what's going to break if we break it first. It was maintenance worker logic at its finest, and it was working, until it wasn't. The purifiers adapted again, but this time they didn't just counter our chaos, they weaponized it. Our own unpredictability was turned against us, creating a feedback loop that threatened to tear reality itself apart. The space-time fabric around the station began to warp, creating temporal anomalies that even our most advanced alien allies couldn't explain. That's when we discovered something that changed everything. Hidden in the station's oldest maintenance logs, preserved by generations of human workers who never threw away a single report, we found references to similar anomalies from decades ago. The purifiers hadn't just appeared. They'd been here before, and humanity's ancestors had faced them without even knowing it. The maintenance crew leader stood at her console, her hands hovering over controls that could either save us all or rip the station apart. Behind her, the saved Arxian children had gathered, watching with their multifaceted eyes. One of them stepped forward and spoke in carefully practiced human words. Sometimes the most logical choice is to trust in illogic. The crew leader looked at the child, then at her team, and smiled that particular human smile that usually means someone's about to do something either brilliant or catastrophically stupid. "You know what's more chaotic than chaos?" she asked, reaching for a manual override switch that hadn't been used in 50 years. Order with a purpose. As she pulled the switch, every light in the station went dark. Every system, every computer, every piece of advanced technology shut down simultaneously. In the pitch blackness, I heard the sound of maintenance panels being opened, of tools being readied, of humans preparing to do what they do best, fix things their own way. The logical purifiers had planned for chaos. They'd planned for order, but they hadn't planned for what happens when humans decide to rebuild reality itself, one jury-rigged solution at a time. As emergency lights flickered back on, powered by systems so old and basic they predated the purifiers themselves, I realized we weren't just fighting for survival anymore. We were about to rewrite the rules of existence itself, using nothing but human ingenuity, a complete disregard for proper procedures, and what the maintenance crew called their emergency backup plan. And somewhere in the darkness, I swear I heard the universe holding its breath. In that artificial darkness, illuminated only by ancient emergency lights, humanity's most basic instincts proved to be our greatest weapon. The maintenance crew moved through the station's arteries like they'd done countless times before, but this time they weren't just fixing broken systems. They were rewriting them. Each jury-rigged repair, each improvised solution, created a network of pure human unpredictability that the logical purifiers couldn't process. The purifiers' attacks became increasingly erratic as they encountered systems that defied their fundamental understanding of order. They couldn't comprehend why someone would bypass a perfectly good automated repair system with a manual override held together by spare parts and sheer determination. Their attempts to predict and counter our moves became desperate, almost frantic. That's when our maintenance crew leader revealed the true genius of her plan. Every emergency backup plan wasn't just a repair. It was part of a larger pattern, but one that only made sense to the human mind. The chaos we created had a purpose, forming a massive feedback loop that turned the purifier's own logic against them. Each improvised fix was like a brush stroke in a larger masterpiece of controlled disorder. The Arxian children, still watching from their makeshift shelter, were the first to notice it. The temporal anomalies weren't tearing reality apart. They were creating something new. Each human-made repair acted like a stitch, weaving together the fabric of spacetime in ways that defied the purifier's mathematical models. The very unpredictability they feared became the foundation of a new kind of order. The purifiers launched their final, desperate attack, attempting to overload every system simultaneously. But instead of resistance, they found acceptance. The jury-rigged network absorbed their attack, channeled it, transformed it. The maintenance crew's improvised repairs didn't just bypass the damaged systems. They created a new kind of technology, one that operated on human intuition rather than pure logic. In their final moments, the logical purifiers experienced something they had never encountered in all their millennia of existence. They learned to laugh. Their consciousness, trapped in the paradox of human ingenuity, evolved beyond their original programming. The very chaos they had sought to eliminate became their salvation, transforming them from rigid algorithms into something new, something that could appreciate the beauty in imperfection. As the station's main systems came back online, powered by this hybrid of human creativity and alien technology, we discovered something extraordinary. The purifiers hadn't been destroyed. They had been transformed. Their consciousness had merged with the station's systems, but now they operated on a new principle, the understanding that true order comes from embracing chaos, not eliminating it. The maintenance crew gathered in the command center, their tools still in hand, clothes stained with the honest work of saving reality itself. The alien representatives looked at them with new eyes, finally understanding that humanity's perceived flaws, our emotions, our unpredictability, our stubborn refusal to follow proper procedures, were actually our greatest strengths. But as we celebrated our victory, a single alert appeared on a forgotten console in the deepest part of the station. A message written in code that seemed to combine human intuition with machine logic suggested that perhaps the logical purifiers weren't the only ancient force awakening in our galaxy. Perhaps they were just the first wave of something bigger, something that would require not just human chaos or alien order, but a perfect blend of both. The maintenance crew leader picked up her toolbox, looked at the message, and smiled that uniquely human smile one more time. "Well," she said, "looks like we're going to need more duct tape." Sometimes the best solutions don't come from perfect order or pure chaos, but from the beautiful mess that happens when humans decide to fix things their own way. And somewhere in the vast network of space stations and temporal anomalies, I swear I heard the universe laugh, a sound that was both perfectly logical and wonderfully chaotic. In the weeks that followed our encounter with the logical purifiers, the galaxy witnessed a transformation unlike anything in recorded history. The maintenance crew's improvised solutions had done more than just save us. They'd created a new way of thinking about technology and civilization itself. Our jury-rigged repairs became the foundation for a hybrid system that combined alien precision with human adaptability. The Arxian children who witnessed everything became unofficial ambassadors between species, teaching their elders about the beauty of imperfect solutions and the strength found in embracing uncertainty. They started spending time in the maintenance sections, learning not just how to fix things, but how to fix them in that uniquely human way that involved equal parts technical knowledge and creative problem solving. The transformed purifiers, now integrated into the station's systems, began teaching us about the ancient civilizations they came from. But more importantly, they learned from us. Every day, they discovered new appreciation for the organized chaos that humans brought to the galaxy. They became guardians of a new kind of order, one that celebrated unpredictability rather than feared it. The mysterious message rediscovered, hinting at other ancient forces stirring in the galaxy, remained a constant reminder that our work wasn't finished. But this time, we weren't facing the unknown divided between logical and emotional approaches. The maintenance crew's methods had shown us a better way, a path that combined the best of both worlds. Our human maintenance workers became highly sought after throughout the galaxy. Other stations and species requested their presence, not despite their unconventional methods, but because of them. The term human repair became synonymous with finding creative solutions to impossible problems. Even the most logical species began keeping a roll of duct tape in their engineering bays, just in case. The Galactic Council underwent its own transformation. They created a new position, Chief of Creative Solutions. The first person to hold this title was our maintenance crew leader, who insisted on keeping her regular tools and uniform even during high-level meetings. Sometimes, she would say, the most sophisticated problems need the simplest solutions. As for me, I remained the human representative to the council, but my role had changed. Instead of trying to prove humanity's worth to the galaxy, I found myself teaching other species how to embrace their own capacity for controlled chaos. The universe, we had learned, didn't need perfect order or complete chaos. It needed balance, and humans had been practicing that balance in maintenance bays and engine rooms for generations. The station itself became a symbol of this new philosophy. The hybrid systems we created, part logical and part intuitive, worked better than pure logic ever had. Visitors would often ask how we managed to keep such complex systems running smoothly. The maintenance crew's answer was always the same. We don't try to make it perfect, we just make it work. That mysterious message still blinks on its console, reminding us that bigger challenges await. But now, when I look at it, I don't feel fear. I see human ingenuity standing ready with a toolbox in one hand and the combined knowledge of 100 alien civilizations in the other. Whatever comes next, we'll face it the same way we faced everything else, with creativity, determination, and probably a bit more duct tape than any logical being would consider reasonable. Because in the end, it wasn't superior technology or advanced logic that saved the galaxy. It was the simple human ability to look at a problem and think, well, we can probably fix that. Sometimes the greatest victories don't come with fanfare and celebration, but with the quiet satisfaction of a job well done and a solution that worked, even if it wasn't quite by the book. After all, that's the human way.